Before we get our panel started, I'm asking Martine Herrera, who is going to be speaking representing the native peoples of this region, who grew up here in San Juan Bautista, to say a few words to start us off, and then we will start our panel.
Well, first of all, my name is Martin. That's my real name.
Great song.
And I was born and raised here in San Juan a long time ago. And my father and my grandfather lived in this area here too also. But anyway, I just wanted to start out with a prayer. I'd like to invite Anne Marie Sayers to lead the prayer. And however she would like to do it. If she wants me to lead the prayer, it doesn't matter. I'm open. We're all open, with open hearts.
Be open.
Thank you. Be open, okay. Well, before I begin, I want to have the sage and the shell right there. And we use sage for our ceremonies. It's to purify the mind, body, and spirit, and to make everything pure and clean. So that's where we want to be right here. And to pay attention to what's going on around us, especially here in San Juan Bautista. This is a very sacred area here. It's worth more than gold.
A lot more.
It's worth a lot more. That's right. So I would like to say a prayer first to honor the direction of the east where the sun rises that way. So we can face that way and give thanks to that direction. Because when that sun rises every morning, it greets everyone equally and evenly. No one less, no one more. To give us balance and harmony. And then we turn to the south. That way. Turn to the south. And that's where we grow spiritually, mentally, and physically. And that's where we grow when the sun is at its highest. So we give thanks in that direction. And then we face clockwise to the west, where the sun goes down, and we prepare ourselves in prayer and to give thanks for the day that just passed. We give thanks for all things as the sun goes down. We say thank you, and then we go to the north. Go to the north and honor the sacred grandmothers and grandfathers where they live in that direction. And we honor them by saying thank you for being here with us, that they can guide us and protect us and be with us. And we say thank you in that direction to make things pure again. So then things start over again. It goes clockwise. Begins a new day again. It's like that. It's a continuous motion and rhythm every day of your lives. So remember that. Try to do that if you can every day. That will change your mind and body and spirit. It will change your life if you do it this way. So we want to say thank you. And we look up above us to the great mystery of all things. It has many names. And we say thank you for allowing us to be here. And we go to the Earth Mother down below, where we stand on her. And we say thank you to the Earth Mother, all that she gives, all that she is. All she asks is just to take care of her and do your part. Do your part to do what is right in your heart. So we say thank you. We say thank you that way. And I say thank you to Anne Marie Sayers. She's right here. Anne Marie, would you please stand up so they can see you? I'm going to play one song, a short song for you, for all of you people that are here, that you may receive peace of mind and heart and harmony and balance in your life.
participants in the forum today, Sam Farr and Jan Saxton, Colin Kosmicki, I'm trying to think of Rob Mendiola, our former planning director. If you'd all please come on up to the front. Anne Marie's already here. And I'm going to just, unlike last time where I had to, I was the stand-in, the substitute for Sam, my comments are going to be much shorter this time, so have a seat. We are just a few weeks away from voting on Measure K. Some of you may already have received your ballots in the mail. They're certainly going out this week. And it is clear that I've now been to a number of forums from everybody, from LULAC to the Farm Bureau. I understand even the realtors are having a forum, though they haven't invited us to present our case. But that Measure K has succeeded in making itself one of the central issues of being decided in San Benito County. And that's because so many of you, close to 100 people, volunteered and helped collect those signatures after the supervisors voted to create the regional commercial district out on Highway 101 and those 4 nodes with their hotels and shopping centers and residences. We succeeded. We needed 2,060 signatures. We collected 4,428 signatures in about 26 days. With almost every signature, all but about 200 signatures being collected by people who weren't getting paid. We had 2 young women from the Mountain Lion Foundation who did get some minimal pay to help us out, but theirs was about 200 out of those 4,428 signatures. And and we appreciated their help, and we'll hope they'll come back and help some more, because we too value the future and the health of the mountain lion population in this area. But today we have an announcement to make, along with Measure K, which I would consider to be emergency medicine, because the supervisors tried rushing ahead, something that would have had lasting damage to our lives out here. That was emergency medicine. We have a more chronic condition in San Benito County, and that chronic condition is that we seem to have somewhat of an unholy alliance between development and elected officials that's gone on for a very long time, and it translated into a general plan that is studded with future nodes of development. 16 of them, as a matter of fact. And we were told by attorneys that as long as they are sitting on our general plan, they are like precancerous nodes on the body politic. The lawyers for the developers and the lawyers for our county supervisors believe that they are obligated to move forward and rezone all of these places to commercial development. And if that's what they believe, then we'll take it for granted that that's what they intend to do. And so we were able, cobbling together some very talented legal minds, to introduce today, this morning at around noon, a little before noon, a citizens initiative that will protect and preserve the rural and open space lands in San Benito County. And the beauty of it is we're not prescribing what lands will or will not be saved. That is going to be up to the people of San Benito County. The initiative is written to say all the lands that are out there, I'm sorry, these nodes cannot exist. They are going to have to be amended off the general plan if we succeed in getting the signatures that we need. And we're going to ask you all to help get those signatures. And if we prevail on the ballot in November, they will be wiped clean, except for a very tiny percentage where they already associated them with properties but most of them are these vague dots with no actual acreage or exact location. They will be wiped clean, and from this point onward, if the initiative passes, until the year 2050, any major development, any conversion of these open spaces and agricultural lands will require a vote of the people of San Benito County. We have faith. We've watched the people of this county take on the oil industry in 2014. We watched them participate in creating moving forward toward renewable energy with Monterey Bay Community Power. We have faith that the people of this county care enough about our future that they will make very wise decisions uninfluenced by the corrupting influence of donations and developers. So at this point, I'm ready to, Mary wants to say something? Yeah. By the way, here's the person who worked far harder than I did.
It occurred to me that actually 5 proponents, so each initiative when you submit it, you have to have proponents who live in this county. And all 5 of them, I think, are here today, so I wanted to acknowledge them for having the courage to step up and to help us make this real, because we couldn't have done it without proponents. So if you could stand up, all the proponents, so it's Colin and Jan or Ann Marino at the stand, and Jim Lee, and let's see, Vicki Montoya. I want to wave back there. Both of you, Jim and Vicki. I just want to say that we will really need your help, however, to make this real. So they have done their part to, put their names on this initiative. We will need to collect signatures in about 3 weeks from now. I know it's a little start collecting signatures, and we will probably take about 4 weeks. So we will need. I think when we did the referendum, we had 82 people, and we will need probably more than that. But I'm pretty confident this initiative is more sweeping in that it's really about making our county more like a few counties who advised us. We had help from Ventura County, the SOAR initiative. They are actually helping us a lot more. Their attorney is actually going to continue to help us with legal challenges. And we also have Sonoma County has been advising us. So these 2 counties over 20 years ago adopted this type of initiative. And it's a very simple concept. I think the beauty of it and why they were able to renew it a few years ago, I think Ventura renewed in 2016 till 2050. And Sonoma County has done that too. They've done it more serially. Ventura was amazing. They did 9 initiatives, 8 cities and 1 county all at once, and they all won. So we're following in their footsteps. I think that our county deserves to be protected the way Sonoma County, Napa, and Ventura have protected themselves. And the concept is very simple, which is it's not really stopping any development. It's just saying we're going to leave it in the hands of the people because we trust the people more, and they'll make the right decisions. So we really will need your help. And in fact, what we need you to do is we are taking down names. If you haven't filled in all your info, because I know some people don't have their emails and phone numbers, and if we don't have you on the list already, we won't be able to reach out to you, but we really need your help, and there'll be some, I think Margaret will be speaking a little bit later, and Marla, about some of the help we'll need. Okay, thank you so much, but I'm really excited about this next phase.
We can do it.
Yes.
So we're going to work our way down the line, and each of these fine people are going to tell us a little bit. As I said before, the last time we met, this is not a forum. We're not presenting both sides. We probably couldn't do it justice. If they want to put on, I can't defend the indefensible. I always have trouble with that. So this is a No on K rally, and the folks who are brought here are on our side on this issue, and they're going to basically explain why and talk about some of the issues that have come to the fore, starting with our planning director of, yes, because there's been much confusion out there about the nature of our decision and what would happen, especially on Measure K, if Measure K was defeated. And I think Rob, who served as our planning director of San Benito County for, what, 25 years, is probably more equipped to explain what's going on than any of the folks who are in those positions at this point. So thank you, Rob.
Hello. Boy, where to start? I didn't think I was going first. I was trying to get comfortable.
Chose the wrong seat, Rob.
I guess so. It's these electric wires hooked to it. Let me start with one of the latest misconceptions that's been pushed out there. The one that if you don't vote yes, the county's going to be sued to high heaven for a taking. I find it interesting that 1 minute there, the other side's talking about how there's nothing approved and it'll all be looked at later, and then the next minute is if you vote for this, then we'll be sued to high heaven and you'll owe the developers all this money. Well, the reality is they have no vested right. They don't even have the zoning because the action
There you go. Thank you.
the action that has been taken is the referendum, and that stayed the ordinance. So the ordinance isn't in effect, and neither is any of their other aspects. And so there's no taking going on here. I find it interesting that some of the court cases that are cited are very extreme cases, and they're just not applicable. And, you know, I don't want to try to compare a sand dune in South Carolina to what's going on here, but that's what they're doing. So I don't think you need to worry about that, and there is no taking. Then there's the statement that, oh, the C1 will let people do so much more and be so much worse off. Well, if you analyze the C1, there are 11 permitted uses, and there are 14 named uses. If you analyze the C3, there's 30 listed uses, and there's 53 named uses within those 30. And that's just the beginning, because the aspect of it is if you put something else in the master plan and we approve it, then we can do that too. So it's got enough openings that you could do just about anything in these C3 zones. And to speak that C1 would be a lot worse is just a misnomer. Also, they happen to throw in 30 units of housing in each of the 4 nodes, which is just amazing to me. Hotels, housing, everything you ever wanted. So, and there's no housing in a C1 or C2 zone. So, just misrepresented to the max. Another aspect is the general plan. They say, oh, well, you got to do this because the general plan's got to be consistent with the zoning. No, we got to do this right now. It's like, well, if it had to be consistent right now, it should have been consistent in 2015 when they adopted it. It has to be consistent at some point. It has to be, there's a reasonableness of the timeline. There's other ways to deal with it as well. you could change those designations, and quite frankly, it appears that that's where this organization seems to be going. They could also change it to phasing it, so it could go in over time. Other things can also be done. So the consistency question is, yeah, we'll get it consistent. We'll get it worked out. In fact, it's being worked on now through public policy, and you all are participating. When you go cast your ballot, if they don't hear you down at the courthouse, then, or the board chambers or wherever, then there are other actions that can be taken. And we'll get to those, hopefully we don't have to. It is truly amazing to me that just about any planner, an entry-level planner in this state, knows that the California Environmental Quality Act requires environmental analysis, and it requires it at the earliest possible time in a project. Not we'll get to it later. They did no additional environmental studies on this project. After 5 years, they want to rely on an ancient, and in the way things have changed, it's ancient, traffic reports and all the other environmental studies. It's truly unbelievable that they would try to get away with that. And it's, quite frankly, embarrassing that our county is trying to pull that and pull it over on the people. Almost amazing as that is, they make all these, oh, we're going to have all this money. Oh, yeah, I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Oh, I have a better idea. We'll have somebody else pay for the hamburger. There isn't an economic study in the world that has gone into this. It's all anecdotal. Oh, we'll get sales tax. Yeah, there will be many additional costs. It is truly amazing that the statements that are being made are not backed up by anything. So there are no economic analysis. The another one that galled me, and I brought this up last time, was, oh, this is smart growth. Oh my God. Smart growth came from community planning. It really came from, started with the Awani principles. And it came from community-oriented and small community-oriented, walkable communities to preserve open space, farmland, natural beauty, to create neighborhoods and a place of space, to allow people to live and interact in communities. This has nothing to do, this is walkable, it's all auto-oriented, give me a break here. It doesn't approach any of the definition of smart growth. So, those are some of the debunkings of the bull Twinkies that are pumped out. I got a flyer today in the mail, many of you may have, that, you know, the sheriffs and the police, oh, we're gonna have lots of money to do that. It's like, what? I don't think so. And I just walking up this evening, I was chatting with a friend, and I brought up a fact that, you know, why don't I bring this up? In the last 15 years, the county has sawed through, in the area of $30 million of reserve funds. Somebody ought to look into the fact that the place has not been run well. It simply has not. You were asked, I think about a year ago, maybe a little more, to vote for a sales tax measure for roads. Well, nobody brought up the fact that in the roughly 2007, 2008, in that area, the county dropped the road impact fees by, and I don't know, 70 or 90%. They allowed the development interests to walk away with another 28 or 30 million dollars. All this growth that has gone on for less money. I can also bring up the fact that in the same era, they eliminated the requirement to build 20% affordable units on developments. So this county has been run amok at the will of the development interests, and the Board of Supervisors has gotten down on one knee and given it away continually. And there doesn't seem to be an end. So please go vote, tell your neighbors.
We look back at the days when we actually had somebody who knew planning as our planning director. Our concerns right now are, our current director came down from the redevelopment agency from San Jose. That should make you feel really uncomfortable. That's what we've hired, because that's the vision. I heard somebody, when I was handing out flyers the other day, say, if they get these developments through, we're gonna be living in Gillister. I said, Gillister? And they said, that's the merged community of Gilroy and Hollister without any stop between. And you can imagine what kind of traffic there'd be in Gillister. So I want to next introduce our former Congressman, Sam Farr. I so appreciate the fact that Sam has continued to be a patron, to be deeply concerned about the future of San Benito County. Not all of you know, but Sam was an integral part of making Pinnacles into the national park that it now is. And in addition, when the Pinnacles was under threat by the oil industry, some of you may not know that part of the reason we launched Measure J in 2014 was there was plans for a tar sands oil field down in South County where they were predicting they would have up to 1,000 oil wells a few miles from the national park. And of course, then as now, we heard from many elected officials about how we were going to be on the gravy train if this all happened, that everything would be just wonderful, and we would have parks and libraries and schools and perfect roads, instead of what has happened in so many other parts of the country, pitted roads and polluted water. And Sam stood up and sided with us and irritated the oil industry a great deal. And he continues to show that kind of courage, and we really appreciate the fact that he's helped us wade in with this Measure K issue, and that he's come to talk a little bit both about his concerns about that development and also about his ideas of a brighter future for San Benito County.
Well, thank you, Andy. Thanks for inviting me tonight. I may not have a vote, but I still have a voice. And when I came in here tonight, I thought I was in an Iowa caucus until I heard the prayer. Thank you for that opening. It was just sensational. How many communities in the United States open like this in a public hearing? It's just, you know, you wonder what makes San Benito County so special, and it's you. It's tonight. It's people turning out to discuss what this county has been and what it can be, even more so. I love early California history in this region because this is where California began. San Benito, Santa Cruz, and Monterey were all one county in Monterey. And if you think about it, I say it's, we're all here because of sea otters. The Russians were coming south, hunting sea otters and sea lions, and the Spanish government in Mexico decided they're getting a little too close, so let's get some defense contractors, known as Franciscan brothers. We'll put them on clean, wind-driven boats, energy efficient, and bring them up and have them start settlements to show the Russians that they can't really get this close to Mexico, otherwise we don't have any really interest in the area. And finally seceded the area in about 1845, 1847. And if you think about it, 1849 we discovered gold, and we discovered gold before the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, we wouldn't be here, because this would all be part of Mexico. So, and this place, San Juan Bautista, is so much a part of that history. And that history really, the beginning is all around this bay. And agriculture began here. Pacific trade began out of Monterey Port from products coming out of this county. The first banking, the first schools, the first newspaper, first educational system, first trial in California, all held in this region. You'd still be a part of Monterey County, except the farmers in the Salinas Valley were so upset with the city of Monterey, the county seat at the time, that they wanted to get it moved to Salinas. At the same time, San Benito said, we don't like Monterey either, and we want to be out, we want to form our own county. So the Salinas farmers made a deal with the San Benito folks and say, if you'll vote for our county seat to be in Salinas, we'll support your withdrawal and incorporation as a separate county, and that's how it all began. My feeling is that, I represented an elective office for 42 years. And the one thing that's wonderful about politics is it takes you to every geographical spot. Because that's where the people are, and you've got to know the territory in order to be an effective representative. And came from a background of dad who was in politics, but his love was really about land use planning. He developed the concept of scenic highways. He saved Big Sur. He did just a lot of marvelous things. And I was young and really not paying much attention, but I listened. And as I grew up, I began pulling connections. And what I've seen in my experience of representing you is that and I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Colombia, and I love Colombia, I love the country. And every time I came through San Benito in the wintertime when the hills were all green, I felt like I was back in Colombia. And I felt that this is the country that, as California becomes so urbanized, that if you really look at the economic future of California, where are all those people in the cities going to go? Because they want to get out. And watchable wildlife is the largest growing industry, greater than all the sports in the world. People coming to see condors, coming to see sea otters, to see things that you just don't see in an urban area. And have that experience of how we can interpret how California began. This is the place to do it. And frankly, your ancestors have done a marvelous job of thinking about how can we preserve the culture of San Benito County and the history in creating State Park at Fremont Peak, creating Hollister Hills, other parks. I was thinking you're probably the smallest county in California with the most number of parks. Because you have local, state, and you're the only county on the on the coastal California, other than Redwoods National Park up in the north, that has a national park. In fact, you're the only county in the United States. There hasn't been, the only one national park during the whole Obama administration was the creation of Pinnacles. And it seems to me that the investment in having that park, and as everybody knows, people didn't go visit a national monument. They thought it was just a statue. But if you talk to the people in the Pinnacles, they've just been overwhelmed about the attention that Pinnacles has drawn from people as a national park and coming there, not just for wildflowers, the wildflower season. And you are the gateway to that. I mean, Soledad's kind of stolen it on the western side, and I think that there needs to be an effort to kind of equal that on the eastern side, because you can't drive to the park, so you got to see both sides, right? And the only way you can get to the eastern side is to go through San Juan Bautista and Hollister. And if you want to know how to do that as a gateway city, go look at another rural county that is invested in protecting its environments, Mariposa County. It's a gateway to Yosemite. They don't even have a city in Mariposa. It's all unincorporated. And what stirred me when I learned about this new Measure K to change your zoning. I mean, what I learned from being a county supervisor, there's some basics in all this stuff. Every city and county in California has to have a general plan. And that general plan has to have elements. Where are your hazardous areas, where is your open space, how you are going to zone it according to these elements, including a housing element, knowing what kind of housing you're going to have and what you're going to do to prepare for the future. Because you're not allowed as a city or county just to say, well, the problems that we have here, we want to get rid of and push them somewhere else. So the responsibility for housing your workforce, which has now become affordable housing or becoming, inclusionary housing, it's a workforce that's being driven out of cities. I grew up in Carmel, and every single person when I was a kid, no matter what their income was, lived in Carmel. Now, 65% of the houses are empty. Nobody lives there. It's losing its residential character. And I'm in for just finding all these people that don't, they buy a house in Carmel and don't live there. I think we could win on that because none of them are registered to vote. But there's just sort of these ideas that you have to come up with. Now, what really struck me is that I know this county is poor. It's one of the poor counties in California. And I frankly think part of it is because of lack of using vision initiative to try to promote all this incredible investment you have in the natural resources and access to those natural resources through your parks. I mean, I remember I took my staff one day. I grew up in Salinas. I said, have you ever been to the top of Fremont Peak? They said, no. I said, come on, we're going up there. And I'd just been in Hawaii, in Maui, and my daughter made me get up at like 4 in the morning to go ride a bicycle from Haleakala Crater down to Paella and have a wonderful breakfast with all of us who were on bicycles. And I went up there and I said, we kind of measured that distance from the top to the bottom. It's 11 miles downhill. I said, why doesn't San Juan Bautista start Haleakala bicycle rides where the income? I said, it's all downhill. The problem with the road is so bad you can't even get a car up there, much less a bicycle. But that's an investment in the road. I mean, just thinking of ideas that could open up opportunities for small businesses that are really related to what is your base. And in the master planning process that the state has set up is that as you have cities and counties. Counties have historically been and still are a rural government. They have a rural police department, the sheriffs. They have a rural planning department. They don't do sidewalks and stoplights and things like that. That's not rural government. They're really out there to handle the rural responsibilities and to provide all of the services that government provides. they have a tax base that's similar to cities. I mean, it's all the same as the cities. They don't have a different tax base. But nobody thinks about, let's start commercializing the rural areas so that we can compete with the cities on their tax base. And when I read this purpose of this initiative, it was all to generate more revenue for the county. That revenue should be generated inside the greater city boundaries, in the area where the urban services already are. That's where you want to have a tax base for TOT, for transient occupancy tax. If you build in these nodes out along Highway 101, do you think the people staying in those motels are going to be interested in coming to Hollister or San Juan Bautista or going to the Pinnacles? No. Those nodes are all for in and out traffic. And it's really criminal that the county is abusing its kind of rural responsibility to try to compete to be urban areas. And to tell you that they're going to be pretty little nodes, here's what I got a copy of the initiative, ordinance, excuse me, of Measure K. In fact, I called Anthony Motello and I told him I was going to be on the opposite front of this, and he said, well, no. He said, well, let me send it to you, and when you read it, you'll understand. And it was all this, we're going to do all these nice little nodes. Well, look, here's just in the nodes what it allows. Now, they told you there's just going to be little beautiful places with some gas stations and some quick stops and stuff like that. I've never seen any of those things being very aesthetic at all. But here's what's allowed in those nodes. Motels, hotels, beds and breakfasts, recreational trailer parks, campgrounds, resorts, commercial entertainment, amusement, including theaters, museums, exhibits, information centers, outdoor recreation and education, miniature golf, swimming, tennis, sporting, social clubs, automobiles, surface stations, incidental minor repair, agricultural product, sampling and or agricultural production or processing not occupying more than 5,000 square feet, laundromats, laundry services, caretaker units, employee housing, limited or medium high density residential uses, which can go up to something like 35 feet. Customary wayfinding signs. Now what we've been trying to do in Monterey County is tear down every single billboard. We only got a few left. Big Sur Highway, we're selling scenery, so we really we control signs in Big Sur like unbelievable controlling. But this says wayfinding signs, including lighting, circulation, landscaping, and operational, themed wall and billboard type murals, design themes and marketing plans, outdoor displays or storage areas, vehicle repair shops, including systems and component repair and service, glass, tires, and similar, but not including painting, body, or fender work. Truck stops, medical or veterinary offices, limited businesses or professional offices, wayfinding signs, and this signs is all over, wayfinding signs, lighting, circulation, landscaping, and operational programs associated with above uses, themed wall and billboard type murals, identifying names, logos, and icon geography, whatever that is. Fruit and vegetable stands, souvenir and curio shops, roadside stands, other uses similar to the above, as may be determined by the Planning Commission. That does not sound like a specific plan, tight little kind of thing. It sounds like you're building a bunch of little communities. And half those things don't have any sales tax. Don't pay sales tax on food. So I don't know where the idea that this is going to be great revenue for the county. The county would get a lot more revenue out of investing in areas that are already, that are nodes, like Tres Pinos and areas like that. And, and I've urged this county to really take a look at what they could do in developing South County. I want New Adrian mines to, if you read the early history of California, there's a whole chapter on the New Adrian mines. I mean, that was one of the first big commercial mining businesses in California, way back in the earlier 1800s. There is so much to sell in this county that has to do with reality rather than fantasy. So I'm here to urge not only a no vote on Measure K, and I think you're doing it responsible because you're saying we're not only just trying to stop this because we don't think it's well thought out and we don't think it's really what we want, but you're going ahead and saying, and by the way, we'll show you what we do want. And that's the initiative that's being circulated. Let's go from the negative, no on K, to the positive, yes on the initiative. And for God's sake, let's not think that the future, the economic value of San Benito County is a bunch of urban acne nodes along Highway 101.
Thank you.
And the next person I'm going to introduce is a former editor of the Freelance and reporter and candidate for the seat that is now opening up in District 2, Colin Kosmicki. And before I ask Colin to speak, I just want to say we have 5 candidates for this seat, and I've been at all these forums. There is only one candidate on our side on the issue of these nodes and on the issue of growth. Only one candidate who was, when the business interests reached out and tried, frankly, to get them on their side, said, no, I'm not going to be supporting your dream of, development from one side to the other of this county. And although Colin and I first met on the opposite sides of Measure J initially, I've come to highly respect both his intelligence and his courage on this issue. Colin Kosmicki.
Just so you know, the Measure J thing, I was the editor of a newspaper, so I was showing both sides of the issue. It wasn't that I was against Measure J. We had some run-ins as far as my perception of objectivity, and Andy's passion and Mary's passion. And on that note, I do want to thank Mary and Andy for what they do for this county. I think we all owe them an extraordinary debt of gratitude. Frankly, they're 2 of the most courageous people that I've ever met in my life, so thank you so much. And I'm also just humbled to be on this panel. I feel like I don't belong here, frankly. These are all iconic people in their own right up here, and so just to have a couple minutes to talk, seated and standing now next to these folks, means a lot. And to Sam Farr, I can't think of somebody who is represents environmentalism, who's stood up for the environment in our region. For me, one person comes to mind when I think of environmental activism the right way, and that's Sam Farr. So I'm not a politician. They all say that when they get in these races, right? And so I got involved in this race in politics because I'm, like a lot of you, I'm tired of the direction we've been going in basically forever. And there's a power class structure in San Benito County. You can call it the good old boy network or whatever you want to call it, but it's there and it's alive and well, and I'm running in this race so that we can end the good old boy network for once and for all. Yeah. And so I'll try to keep it quick. There's a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, this is bad planning, and there's a public representation issue here. On the planning part, we all know this is awful. We all know that this is, as Rob would tell you, this is the antithesis of smart growth. They're taking 4 shopping centers, nearly 1 million square feet of development, and we're plopping them miles away from core services. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And so we have 1 million square feet, we have 120 houses, we have all these uses that we just talked about here, and somehow it's not going to cost anything, and we're all going to be wealthy beyond belief by the end of this whole thing. So on the other side of the coin, they keep saying, well, this is going to bring jobs to the county. This is going to create jobs. And yeah, there might be a few jobs created by these nodes, but at what cost is what I ask. And the other question is, do we have standards? And the answer is absolutely yes. That is the point of planning. We don't just approve projects because we think there's going to be revenue for county services. Those projects need to fit in line with our community. They have to fit in line with the vision for our community. And these certainly don't. And if all we cared about was revenue, then about 10 years ago we should have probably approved that casino on 25, right? Which we did. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason we didn't approve the casino. And I remember also about a decade ago, there was a hotel proposed in Tres Pinos. And whether you supported that hotel or you were against that hotel. It was a spur hotel, a Western-themed hotel. And what happened when that hotel was proposed? One hotel, not 4, not 1 million square feet, not shopping centers, one hotel. The people stood up and they said no. And the politicians listened. And to me, it really underscores the problem we have on the west side of this county. We're forgotten.
Yes.
We're all too often forgotten and dismissed. And when I ran this race, I got into politics now because I am tired of regular, everyday residents being dismissed. I am tired of the power class structure. I'm tired of politicians who are friendly with developers and forget about the people they actually represent. And so what happened here with the nodes? In 2015, there was a general plan process. Of course they publicized it. Of course there were a lot of people involved with the general plan process. But was there outreach specific to this issue? Absolutely not. They had to have known this was going to be the most controversial part of that general plan. They had to have known that. They knew it. And nobody spoke out about that. None of them. So they had their little insulated group, and they made this decision. They didn't call town halls. They didn't put out notices to let the public know, hey, by the way, there's going to be a really controversial issue coming up here you might want to know about. They did none of it. And more recently, during the planning process, when a lot of the people in this room, including myself, became really fully aware of what was going on, started to do our job as citizens when we're concerned, going to speak at public meetings, speaking out, started to organize as a group. What happened again from the politicians' side and the developers and the good old boys? They dismissed us. They dismissed us. And so, what do citizens do when they feel like they're dismissed and forgotten? They organize and they stand up for their rights. So I'm just extraordinarily proud to be around this group. We were here a couple weeks ago. There was so much energy in the room, and it was so pure. And you just had that feeling, I hate to put it this way, but there's a good side and there's a bad side. I'm not saying the people on the yes side are bad people, but there's right and there's wrong. And I know we are right. I know. And what I'll say going forward, we got a few weeks left in this thing. I have the utmost confidence we're going to win. We got to bring it home. We got to bring it home. And it's going to take all of this out here. No, staying away from the negativity, staying away from the spin, just being honest, good people.
and showing the other side that we're right and they're wrong. And to me, this issue, even more than, Measure J was the beginning, when the people stood up, and I believe the nodes and then the initiative as it comes, this is a real turning point for San Benito County. This is a historic moment for our county. This is when regular, everyday people stand up and say no. Good Old Boy Network, we're finished. We make the decisions. We elect the politicians, and the politicians represent us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. I also want to underscore that Colin was one of the folks who put his name to the initiative to essentially empower all the people of this county. So I really appreciate that. Oh, yeah, that's still the case, right? So one of the things that most impressed me is that Colin, when these various folks reach out, and I've run for political office before, I know how it all works. They come together and they meet with you, and then at the end they offer a check, and with, of course, nothing down the road except the knowledge that they've made a leveraged investment in their future and in the decision that comes, that comes down the pike. That Colin did not take their money and decided that he would limit any donation to $250. And I highly respect that. So probably could use a few more of those $250 if you're short of that. But our next speaker is Jan Saxton, the former head of the Aromas Grange. And I just want to say, I've known Jan for many years, and Jan helped. She was one of the proponents on Measure J, and I think that she's been in this fight and deeply concerned about the rural community for a very long time. She also participated, and I think she's going to say a little bit about her experience participating in what is supposed to be community and citizen participation in our general plan, but ends up being something far short of that. Jan Saxton.
Thank you very much. I do care deeply about this county. I moved here in 2003 and got deeply involved in Aromas in the Grange. And I was appointed by Anthony Botello to be on the GPAC, the General Plan Advisory Committee. And we had a great team, we really did. We had Jim West, we had one of the rangers down from the Pinnacles, we had some people from northern part of the county who had participated in a general plan update in Gilroy. And it was a broad representation, and we met for the very first time, and we were introduced to the very overpriced outside consultants who were brought in by the supervisors to update our general plan in San Benito County. And I remember that one of their claims to fame was they had recently updated the general plan for Sacramento County. Anybody been to Sacramento? It's one big sprawl. And at that very first meeting, we were presented with a very fancy PowerPoint presentation and printed out on paper, and the first question they asked us was, do you want a 2%, 5%, or 10% growth for the future of your county? And we were just dumbfounded. I was like, why are you putting this in front of us? We have a 1% growth cap, and we like it. So what else can we talk about? And they kept hammering on growth and development, and they did not want citizen oversight. We were just a rubber stamp, a checkbox in the process. Citizen oversight, check. They had nothing. They had nothing to say that we wanted to hear, and they didn't want to hear anything we had to say. I found my notebook when I was moving recently, and I've got a picture of a mushroom that I was drawing on the bottom corner of my notes to share with the people on either side of me, because we were being kept in the dark right from the get-go and shoveled fertilizer. Yes, we were. So that was my experience with how county government works in San Benito, and I was really frustrated, and so were many of the people on the team, and ultimately we left the consultants out of it. They divided up the segments of the plan. They worked in committees. We did our own update. We did a really good job. We presented it to the supervisors. They took it in the back room. They put all the development stuff back in, and then they approved it. including that huge development that was voted down at the top of Highway 25 Rancho something years ago. The citizens voted no. They just kind of sketched it back in because they're going to get to it eventually. So when I called Anthony Botello to ask about Measure K, when I first heard about it, he explained to me that he thought that it was really important that they do the work up at the Benito station, that node, because there was some derelict problem up there that really needed to be cleaned up, and it was going to be a real benefit to everybody. And he trusted the supervisors to make good decisions on all the other things as they came up. And I didn't argue with him, but I thought to myself, well, I do not trust our supervisors. I think they're in the pockets of the developers. It may not be every single individual, but certainly a majority of them are being funded and getting their walking orders from developer money, and it's obvious by the decisions that they keep making. So anyway, that's the piece about the general plan. I'm here to say 4 things. I am so angry at the Yes, I'm K people. They've got a lot of money. They're making real big signs, and it's all a lie. It's all deceptive advertising. They start out with control housing. We're going to control housing by putting in 120 more houses. I don't get that. Hello, control growth by adding growth. We're going to add jobs. Yeah, anybody want to be, the jobs are all, they're minimum wage jobs. We're going to have hotel maid jobs, and we're going to have people working behind the counter at the gas station. They're not careers. They're not bringing in any industries that benefit our county or are going to build careers for our kids and our people. They're lousy jobs, and not very many of them. And they're planning for the past. They're planning based on the idea global warming's not a thing. We're all just going to keep driving our cars forever up and down Highway 101. We're never going to have high-speed rail. We're never going to have public transportation that works. So we're just going to plan as though life goes on the way it did 40 years ago, and it's going to be great. And I'm like, this makes me crazy. I try to stay out of local politics, but this makes me crazy. That's really all I came here to say. Every time I go past their big green signs, I just get furious because it's all a lie. And so you need to talk to your neighbors. I'm sorry if they get mad at you. You need to talk to them. You need to let them know that they're being fed a lot of fertilizer, and it's good for crops, but not for people. We are tired of it, and I'm so excited about this initiative. We're going to have to get those signatures in. We're going to have to turn out the vote, and then planning decisions, development decisions will be in the hands of the citizens of this county, because when you have 5 developers, all you got to do is pay off 3 of them, and we're all sunk. So there you go.
Our next speaker is the tribal chair of Indian Canyon Nation. A lot of folks don't know, and Anne Marie will tell a little bit more about it. I talk to people all the time when I'm collecting signatures and in parking lots, and I started to talk about the concerns about the nodes along Highway 101 and the sacred nature of the territory, the northern 2 being part of Eurostat, the southern 2 being a place called Iraq, where ceremony went on, where regular people really weren't supposed to go, I understand, much less build shopping centers over these sacred areas. I've known Anne Marie since my son went on an elementary school trip there in, I think, 5th grade. So he's 26 right now. So I've known Anne Marie for a long time, and I've been to Indian Canyon many times. And as I was saying, what's special is it's the only federally recognized Indian territory from up in, Sonoma County, all the way down to Santa Barbara County. So in an area, the center, Sam talked about the world that the Europeans brought to California, but this was the center of the native world north of Mexico City. This was it. And now to be down to simply that one spot that Anne Marie keeps ceremony alive and welcomes other folks is incredibly special, and that's here in our county. And during Measure J, when the oil industry did everything possible to get in our way, including when Margaret Rebecki, who had been doing fundraisers for decades for politicians, when we were going to do a fundraiser for Measure J, and suddenly the health department showed up at her house to say that we did not have permits to serve food for a political fundraiser, something that nobody had ever heard of before in this county. And they were not happy about it, but somebody had complained. That somebody, of course, was the oil industry and those working for the oil industry. And we were scrambling to figure out where to have an event. You know, we had all these people coming for this event, and Anne Marie said, "What's the problem? I'm not under those laws." And we ended up having one of the most remarkable days that I can ever remember. Not only when we collected much more money, I think $10,000 that day, but loads of people came, and just by coincidence, there was a shaman, a holy Inuit man that they called himself Uncle, who did this ceremony that I swear after the ceremony everybody gave even more money. So moved by his ceremony, and I still look very fondly, and we had victory ceremonies. My mentor, Dr. Art Pearl, gave a lecture about democracy there that got even more people involved in our campaign. It was just, and I can't thank Anne Marie enough, and now she is also one of the proponents for our initiative for the people, including our original people, to take some control over the future, not just the past, but the future of our county.
Thank you, Annie. And Mary, too. Thank you. How important you are for our county. I really cannot tell you how sacred the rocks happens to be to Native peoples. And to have development there is unacceptable. It really is. The majority of people think we're all dead, but we're not. We are still here. I live in an area that I can document 4,400 years, Indian Canyon. It's about 15 miles south of Hollister. But I say we've been there since the beginning of time. And we are still here. I would like to make a request of each and every one of you. And that is, we have 4 directions, north, east, south, and west. We have 4 seasons to be responsible to get 4 youths to vote that would not. We have to get our voices out there to protect our mother, the earth, and to give her some credit outside of money. Our society is so absent of the sacred. We really are. Let's start bringing it into our lives and holding the earth sacred as it is. Because we're just trashing it. You know, it's a beautiful world, it's just the people. And there's more and more and more people. So can I get a commitment from you to get at least 4 youths to vote?
Yes.
If we can do that here, our mother will be much happier. Got it? 4! At least.
Thank you so much, Anne Marie. Let's see if I can not put this over. I'm going to invite another speaker up, and people may ask why I'm inviting. We did not endorse any politicians and preserve our rural communities. Instead, we let politicians endorse us. In other words, we look for who would stand up for us, and any politician who is willing to essentially get behind the fight that we're involved in, I would invite to the microphone. And I'm going to invite a friend, Adam Bolaños Scow. A lot to say about him, but I'm going to make it relatively short. I've known Adam since we launched Measure J in 2013. When I reached out to my friend Rose Braz, who was the co-chair of Californians Against Fracking, Adam was the other co-chair. Rose, who is one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever known, has passed away from cancer since then. She worked with me on prison reform issues, a fantastic human being, and without her, we would have never gotten the backing from the legal help and others. We could never have launched Measure J. And Adam was the State Director for Food and Water Watch, and he also helped with advice, with people who came down to talk, with their expertise, with encouragement. And the same when we took on the fracking industry in Monterey County with Measure Z. He's got a longer history of dealing with environmental issues in this area. He's living in Watsonville, and we have 3 candidates in the race for Congress. And for those of you who worry, partisan-wise, if you happen to be a Democrat, you have nothing to worry about, frankly, because one of the Democrats is going to be in the race in November. And I frankly think all of you should give some consideration to Adam. From the beginning, when we started this battle, Adam started showing up to our meetings and helping. And I'm just going to hand the microphone now to Adam Bolaños Scow.
Thank you all. Thank you to the wonderful panel. Thank you to Andy and Mary, the Rebecca family. My life changed because of Measure J in 2013. My name is Adam Bolaños Scow. My grandfather was a farm worker here in the district, a bracero farm worker in the 1940s. My parents were school teachers. To the best of my knowledge, neither one of them was the director of the CIA. I'm running because we have an affordability crisis that is driving people away from our district, driving people away from California, and we have a climate crisis that is getting worse, and it's going to drive us off of this planet. I always tell people this is not personal between me and Jimmy. Jimmy's a nice guy. Some people think I'm a nice guy. But we have a big fight, the fight of our lifetime, the fight for humanity, which I think No one K is part of, but is a fight with the oil and gas industry, and we are down to our last decade. We don't have till 2050, like too many of these Democrats say. We have to get this done in the next 10 years. I am not taking any corporate PAC money. 75% of the money Jimmy has ever raised is from corporate PAC money, military contractors, insurance companies, PG&E. How are we continuing to raise the military weapons budget when 10% of the students in Monterey County are homeless? That is unconscionable. We need real affordable housing, and that needs to come back with federal money. Reagan slashed that money in the 80s. We have new units in Aptos. They built condominiums. The affordable ones start at $600,000. We have a teacher shortage in the Pajaro Valley. 100 teachers leave Seaside every year. And they tell us, in the richest state, in the richest country, how is this inexcusable? How is this excusable? It is not. We have money as a matter of priorities. We have a corrupt Congress. I'm going there to fight to clean it up. I hope to earn your vote. Thank you very much.
So thank you. I really enjoyed hearing all of you. So thank you so much, our forum guests. Let's give everyone a hand. There are a couple of things. We have a lot to do. We have an election that's coming up March the 3rd, so less than a month really. So we need your help to make sure that Measure K, the No on K, wins, and to help ensure that Margaret and Marla here are some of our organizers. Margaret is, her house is our unofficial headquarters in Hollister. We've been meeting there several times. She feeds everyone first. So actually for those of you in the Hollister area, tomorrow, Thursday, there's a dinner at 5 o'clock at 1951 Highland Drive in Hollister. A really beautiful Mexican meal will be served, and then we will be discussing strategy. So we've been doing this is our 3rd meeting, I think. And Marla over here in the red is organizing the aromas and also getting involved in the San Juan Bautista area. So we really need your help in the last few weeks for a big push. You know, canvassing, we are also doing leafleting. We are walking around and getting a lot of signs out, and we're going to be making postcards, handwritten ones. We're going to be organizing some of the mailers. We have a mailer that's coming out to save money. We're doing some of the stuff ourselves. So Margaret, did you want to say a few words? And Marley, want to come up here and talk about what you're going to need help with?
One of the things to win a campaign, you have to work hard. And when we work on J and Z, it was 24/7. Every day we worked, we knocked on doors. The absent people who are the voters, we actually knock on their doors. I know Mary and Andy have been working so hard. They're out there cold and giving out flyers and, you know, signs, and that's good. But now we got to focus on the absentee ballot, people who vote absentee, people who are the voters, and the ones who are not voters, but encouraging them that why is it important. Getting our message out. I mean, this morning I did a 1 hour on Radio Bilingüe and talked about Measure K, what we're doing, you know, getting the people involved, registering. But the most important thing is voting. For me, it's always get the people motivated to vote and give them the reason why they have to vote, how this is going to affect them, you know, Measure K. So we already have like about 5 couples that are going out knocking on doors, and I'll ask them, where would you like to focus? Richmond, would you like to focus with our Spanish speakers? And so we already ran out some packets, but we really want to start this week. And I know some of you say, oh, I hate knocking on doors, oh, I don't think I could do it. Believe me, we train the people who Measure J and Z, and once they did it, they could go out there and knock on doors and, you know, get them to support you. So we really need help. I said, Mary, no more meetings. Let's get to work. We need to start knocking on doors. We need to get together. How many people are saying yes? How many are not? Where else do we need to focus? We don't have enough time to do a campaign like we did with J and Z. It took a year of preparation. You only have how many weeks? 3 weeks. So I said, Mary, so she goes, help me, Margaret. I go, oh my God, no, this is a lot of work. But we could do it. We just have to work out there. And I know a lot of you are working hard getting the message out. And so, but I just want to also let you guys know how hard Mary and Andy work. You know, I have them go to my house and eat dinner because you guys are cold out there. Come and eat. They work super hard and they stay up late, not 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Because Mary will send me an email, 2 in the morning. I'm up or she's up. But they work super hard. They believe in what they're doing. So I really don't mind working with them because they work super hard. So I want all of you. Tomorrow I am going to have a meeting at 5 in my house. And so what we're doing is organizing people. What areas do you want to focus on? And get your packets ready. And Saturday, I was thinking maybe at my home or the people in Aromas, Marla is going to organize a group in Aromas. And I don't know, there's some people in San Juan Bautista who would like to organize. But I think where we need to focus is Hollister. That's where we have a big area. So we need all your help. So if you come tomorrow to the meeting at 5, and then yes, I'll have dinner for you guys. and we'll start organizing Saturday and start knocking on doors. You really have, if you want to win, that's what we have to do. Not just talk, not get the mud, we need to actually go to the voters and say you need to vote yes on K.
No.
I also forgot to mention Fallon. Raise your hand if you're back here. Fallon is organizing the honkin' waves, and I think those have been very successful. I think we've done 4 of them in Hollister at busy corners on Friday, late afternoon from about 4 to 5:30. And you want to say anything, Fallon?
Well, we have, we're doing 2 locations in Hollister. We're, this Friday will be at the Safeway parking corner light, and we're also doing the 25 in San Felipe, because that's a major entry point for commuters. And we're hoping to get something started here in San Juan at Alameda, at the light, Alameda and 156. So that would help for people from Aromas and from San Juan, because you don't want to get stuck in the traffic from San Juan to Hollister. So we're working on that, and if we can get enough people, we would even add the Shore Road and San Felipe, which is another main artery into town from San Jose and that area. So we're really hoping that people will come and make a sign and rant and rave, and people will honk, and we get excited, and they're happy, and we're happy.
Yeah, it's actually been very successful. My estimate, and some of you who are better at math, I estimate that maybe 9,000 people see us in 1.5 hours, possibly more. So it's really a great way to show grassroots enthusiasm. We don't have quite as much money. We do have a lot of lawn signs, however, so Sam was actually reminding me that, if you don't have the time to do the walking, we would really appreciate if you could do a little bit of canvassing, as Margaret suggested, or even if you can't walk, you can hand out flyers in front of the the major shopping areas. But we also need help getting signs out. So there are a few people they're really focusing on the large signs and also the small signs. So the honkin' wave is another one for people who don't like talking to people. You just have to stand along the side of the road. It's actually pretty fun. I've been doing it for 4 weekends.
And making a sign is your creative juices flow. And it is a lot of fun. And the time goes by very
So anyway, Fallon, thank you so much.
Thank you, Fallon.
Quick question, I was going to give this to Marlon next. Wolf?
We got an announcement on Saturday that the Esalen tribe is also supporting our efforts, No on K, another group that's an important group in our area, because what we're doing here is really going to affect Monterey County, and also the Esalen tribe has antecedents in this area. And the pass itself is a sacred area, as Anne Marie said, to people all over California and all over the nation. And so we have a background with the Esalen tribe also, and the Esalen Nation. So
thank you. And the Amamutsan, those of you who were at the last forum, the tribal band really believes this is a really important battle. And in fact, the Indigenous Solidarity Group is bringing a number of people from Santa Clara and Santa Cruz this weekend to help us canvass. So I really want to give a hand to people like Ramon from Santa Cruz, who's been canvassing every weekend. I'm going to give this to you. Marla has some ideas for organizing in the local Aromas and San Juan Bautista area.
So I am actually a temporary organizer, because in about 10 days I'm going to have to turn my attention to a different issue. There's lots of issues out there right now. But for now, I went ahead and volunteered to do a honkin' wave for San Juan Bautista in 2 days? Friday. 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. So the question, I don't even, believe it or not, I live in Monterey County, so. But this is really important. But anyways, in terms of where to meet on Friday, I had already put an email out to meet at the windmill, and then I was told tonight that's not the greatest place. But either way, if you could at least come by there and then check in, and then we'll tell you where to go from there. It'll probably be Mission Vineyard.
Maybe we should, just to help Marla, because it's a lot of work she made 22 phone calls and only 4 people responded to her recently. We have a big group here. How many people could help Marla with this Honk-A-Way? Raise your hand right now. And if anyone has a piece of paper, Marla, you want to go around and get the info?
Actually, I am.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be passing stuff out. I will be passing things out tonight, so I won't really. Can somebody else?
Can someone help Marla record? Keep your hand raised, and maybe someone over here with the clipboard could write down the names. That would be very helpful. Keep your hands raised. This is really, I know it's a little bit of pain, but this saves us amazing amounts of time making phone calls and emailing and texting you. So Marla, we got a few people more here. I think you said you had like about 8 or so this is a good extra 8 more people. And keep raised higher, and then keep it raised so people who are going to do Honk-A-Way this Friday at the corner of the Alameda or 156 or further east, they're going to tell you more exact location. Probably between the Alameda and Mission Vineyard Road, for those of you who are familiar with that area. So Friday traffic. So I don't know, 4 o'clock. Oh, I think someone is doing it right now. Elia and Fallon are recording
I have
names.
quite a few other around.
Okay, why don't you pass it around to Fallon?
If you didn't fill out the paper and you wish to, please.
Yeah, if you can write on the little sheets of paper that some of you already have, what you want to volunteer for, and give it to Fallon or someone else who's walking around, that would be great. And also, I think for people did you have anything more?
Okay, so let me backtrack just a little bit. There's 2 things going on within the next 3 days. The Honk-A-Way is on Friday. It's at 4 o'clock. Check in at the windmill, then we'll send you on your merry way to 1 or 2 other possible locations after that. The other thing is that we have lists ready to go for anybody who's willing to do some canvassing, some neighborhood canvassing. We have 17 lists here ready to give you tonight and some flyers. And if you're willing to start knocking on doors, the idea of the neighborhood canvassing is that you're going to be finding out, have you heard about Measure K? They'll either say, yeah, go away, or no, well, a little bit, tell me more. Anyways, the point of the canvassing is that if people don't know about it, they need to know about it. If people don't know how they're going to vote, you need to help convince them to vote no. Those are the 2 purposes of neighborhood canvassing. So, no. Okay, so if you want to do any neighborhood canvassing, Athena, okay, she's going to come up here in the front when this meeting is over. She and I will be up here. We'll pass out a list to you. We'll give you some flyers. We'll give you a couple of signs, because inevitably, as you're going along, you may find somebody who would be happy to put a sign in their yard. So that's the plan so far, and I don't have a whole lot of plans other than that until we get this other list back. And then, at some point, somebody who actually lives in San Juan Bautista can try to, continue the activities. But I'm doing it for the next 10 days. She does some of the
or Sam, on the Monterey side of Aromas and Royal Oaks. Okay, Marty, did you want to be more specific and ask people to do anything other than just come to your house? Do you want them to sign up for anything like canvassing in Hollister?
See Mark signed up right now.
Yeah, do you want to, maybe if you could come over, I know we're ending here, someone who wants to help in Hollister, you could come over and talk to Margaret. We really need to kind of capture the helpers as much as possible. For those of you who cannot do any of those things, but can help with donations, that is very needed as well. So what I want to do is see if anyone, Andy, are you here to make a pitch? For donation. I think that, as you know, every campaign costs a lot of money. We're actually going to be launching another campaign, the initiative right after the referendum, so go ahead.
Okay, this is the end, and I'm going to make it quick. Mary already pointed out that obviously KB Homes and Anderson Homes are not going to be donating to either Measure K or to our initiative. And a lot of the folks associated with them will not. All our campaigns really come from money from regular folks here in the county. And I always ask everybody, when you look up north at what was once the Valley of the Heart's Delight, and you ask yourself whether you would like to have that overlaid over San Benito County, ask yourself what it's worth to you to make sure that we can stop that. And then, make your donations, because your donations are what can allow us to operate, and a campaign does cost money. They will outspend us by many times, and that's okay, but we need to have enough. So thank you. Please take long signs. You can get a few neighbors to put them up. That's a major contribution for us. English and Spanish.